Welcome to Tomorrow Today with Ouss. I'm Ouss. I'm Lebanese and I'm pissed. My entire life I've seen the Middle East marginalized, bombed, and criticized by the West as archaic. This perception has been used to justify countless wars and deaths. And for many, the Middle East seems like this distant place, with their most recent reference being Aladdin. And nobody's even sure where he's from. Is he Arab, Indian, Persian? It turns out he's technically Chinese, but Disney put him in Agrabah, which is based on Baghdad. Even he's been forced out of his home. The discourse of the Middle East as a backward region is frankly unfair. Over the last year, I've heard this fairly xenophobic argument: if it was so good back there, why do you all come here? And there's truth to that. Immigration from the Middle Eastern countries to just the G7 account for an estimated 50 to 60% of the total, which explains the exponential growth of the chicken shawarma. We're not denying that we move here, but our countries only recently gained their independence. As nations, we're relatively infants. Look, the average year of independence for countries in the G7 is 1685. The average year of independence for the 15 Middle Eastern countries from them is 1952. We're only as old as Liam Neeson. And in all this time, he's only made one good movie. Okay, two. Give us some time. You're like our toxic ex that held us back. We finally shook you off us, and we need some time to start fresh, make some mistakes, but we're going to come out of this better than ever. But these criticisms are based significantly around Western talking points and some propaganda. Let's look at Israel's. Most of the time, it's laughably bad, whether it's finding a perfectly crisp version of Hitler's Mein Kampf in a children's living room, which is nuts. You think kids read? And I don't remember growing up with my own living room. Are you in Beverly Hills or Gaza? But sometimes the propaganda can be pretty effective. Israel always tout that they're the only democracy in the Middle East, right? Wrong. Not gonna lie, they even had me fooled. Then I remembered Lebanon's a democracy. I'm not saying it's a good one, but whose is? But what often discounts ours is that we're secular, meaning that certain positions of power need to be occupied by a certain religion. For example, our president has to be Christian. Sound familiar? Every democracy on earth, especially you, America, anytime one of your candidates is slightly brown, everyone's like, they smell pretty Muslim. Remember when we found out Obama's middle name was Hussein? Honestly, I was like, not only is he Muslim, he's Shia. Almost every democracy on this earth has a president or prime minister that's Christian, except Indonesia, Malaysia, Bangladesh, who are run by a Muslim, Japan, that's run by a Buddhist. Kind of a vibe, no? India, who's run by a Hindu, and of course Israel, who is currently run by Satan. The point is, discounting any democracy for being secular is besides the point, because all of them are, just not always explicitly stated. Take America, the largest democracy. The federal government, including the House, Senate, and Cabinet, with roughly 500 positions, is run entirely by Christians, except for 17 Jews, 2 Muslims, and 1 gay guy. Yeah, I say gay like it's a religion, and their prophet is RuPaul. That's pretty secular. Another criticism of the Middle East is that we're run by monarchies, which doesn't allow for fair representation, while praising democracies for allowing people to choose the most fit leader out of the pool of the entire population. You sure about that? This US presidential election marks the first without a Bush, Clinton, or Biden since 1976. That's 48 years. Now, I know that's not technically a monarchy, but that's pretty close. And that would have continued had Biden not tripped up the stairs and died. Look, America had both George Bush Sr. and Jr., same name. Monarchy. Let's not forget Canada. We had Pierre Trudeau and his son, who I did vote for, Justin. You're telling me out of all these people in this country that this is the guy that was most fit to lead us? Guess who's also living in a monarchy, cuties? Look, a democracy is just a monarchy with the illusion of choice. The reality is there's only one system of government we all live under: nepotism. And I'm not against it. If I have kids, you better believe they're going to be nepped up. I will get them internships they're not qualified for. Let's look at the UK, both a monarchy and a democracy. Remember Winston Churchill? His dad was the Secretary of State of India. Nepo baby, but spicy. Even more recently, former UK Prime Minister David Cameron, his great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, I know this is a stretch, but listen to this, was the king. That's something. So let's stop acting as if one system of government is better or worse and using that as some half reason to justify an invasion. Because we're all eating the same cake, just cut into different slices. Be straight up. We all live in the West for money and security, and we appreciate it. We're not here to reintroduce you to spices. I'd rather you do the same. Say you want our oil and land, and let's move on. And for what it's worth, the only one being straight up is Israel. Bibi doesn't support a two-state solution and acts like it. But that's the problem. To all Arabs, what Israel's doing is so blatantly wrong, yet supported by all the powers of the world. Netanyahu does whatever he wants, despite what America says. And don't take it from me, that was said by Ehud Olmert, Israel's prime minister from 2006 to 2009. Which begs the question, is Israel like Diddy and just have dirt on everyone? Was Biden actually a Diddy's freak-off? He falls on regular surfaces. The last thing you need to do is cover him in baby oil. Ew. The more I think of it, Bibi and Diddy are pretty similar. Their names rhyme, they both love oil and are a danger to children. Oh wait, and so is Biden. And we have to talk about Israel's big brother, pun intended, America. Despite our best efforts, our protests often fall on deaf ears. We focus on how many of our children have been murdered in Gaza by Israel. 16,000 confirmed. But the leading cause of death for children in the US is firearms. Why ask them to care about our children when they don't care about theirs? At least they're consistent. Look, and we always say history repeats itself. And America usually seems to be the last to realize they're wrong. Did you know that they abolished slavery after the British? How do you do that? The British enslaved the globe, yet somehow they beat you to being like, it's a bit fucked up, innit? It took America 30 more years. And what doesn't make any sense is that they're a direct descendant of England. They're the next generation. They should be more progressive. That's like a dad that finally stopped saying the N-word having a son that still raps it. And throughout history, in times of great injustice, people from the other side often stand with the oppressed. Similar to slavery. When many white people opposed it, you wouldn't find many black people in support. He's not real. As Bibi justifies his actions in the name of safety of Israelis, many Israelis and Jews stand in support of Palestine's liberation, knowing that that is the fastest route to safety. They're with us at the protests. Meanwhile, I don't know of any Arab that supports Israel's actions. This says a lot about who's on the right side of history. For example, there's an organization doing great work called Jewish Voices for Peace. In contrast, you wouldn't have seen an organization called Black People for Slavery. That's the craziest sentence I've ever said. I hope that makes sense. Some supporters are even more confusing than you can imagine. Former head of Shin Bet went on record and said if he was Palestinian, he would fight against Israel. What? That's like if Voldemort asked to play Quidditch. Harry, can I be Seeker? No, you can't. All this dialogue, but nothing happens. And civilians, which, by the way, I'm done with that word. It's people, it's friends, it's family, continue to die. We've gotten desensitized to the numbers. People hear 40,000 with tens of thousands still missing, and they don't visualize it. Please, the next time you're at a concert at an arena, just imagine everyone in there is killed. Now double that and double that again. Similarly, if you manage to snag tickets to the illustrious Taylor Swift tour, imagine only people in that stadium and the people sitting in the parking lot outside. So we're wondering, what should we do? What should we not do? Do not waste your energy on debating with Zionists. Although that would be great for my engagement, save your energy. Because debating with the Zionists is like debating with an Apple Music user. There's no saving them, all right? The entire world can be telling them, you should check out Spotify, it's pretty great. And they're like, no, we don't want to use Spotify, we'll only use Apple Music. I'm like, look, I'm not saying don't use Apple Music, I'm saying also use Spotify. There is a two-app solution to this arrangement. And let's not forget that an apple that was bitten into is the reason we're in this mess to begin with. I'm protesting in new ways that make me feel a little bit better. For example, I was at a game recently and they asked us to stand for the national anthem. I'm like, hell no. I'm in a country that's supplying weaponry that's bombing my own. That's like asking Rihanna to stand and sing a Chris Brown song. Not happening, babe. Not only am I not gonna stand, I'm gonna sit down and scroll on TikTok on loud. And I know that might upset people who want to say, well, if you don't like it, go back to your country. Well, you know what would speed that up? Stop bombing us. I'm Ouss. I'm Lebanese, and I'm pissed.